Just to give you guys a quick background about me, I really believe that marketing cannot be a profession. It's basically a passion. So nobody can really teach you marketing. It's something that you're really born with, or it's something that really attracts you. Um, Having said that, I call myself a strategist because it's a mindset. So mindset could be acquired. My core competencies revolve around analyzing business models and do the same with revenue models as them as well. I enjoy mapping business goals with the right marketing channels, and I also feel that I'm really good at identifying user experiences and rating them, and eventually finding the right gaps. So if you look at, I've been kind of people have been kind enough to review me on Google, so that really is something that motivates me. I have been in the system. I've been working in the digital marketing space for over 12 years now, and I started off with a small agency called Communicate 2, which eventually got bought over by other companies to become iProspect, which eventually merged with networks to become Dense Wages Network. So my background was more towards the agency side of things, and I had an opportunity to work with so many different clients, so many different businesses, and literally everybody was selling something different. Somebody selling policies, someone is selling courses, some people are selling homeopathy medicines, some people are selling physical products like clocks, tires, and the list is just endless. My clients range from single entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, as you'd call it, to small businesses to large enterprise businesses. So that has given me a lot of learning in the space. Couple that with a lot of failures as well. So I have really kind of learned in the process and built myself back up to solve problems. Um, I have been quite fortunate to speak at various forums and also provide training services to some of India's largest colleges, institutes, one of the most prestigious institutes like NMIMS and the Times Pro and DMTI, Thadumal Sahani, and the list again is quite big here. So why are we here? It basically started with a thought where during my consulting days back in 2009, 2008, 2009, I was sitting outside a client office just waiting to be fired. And the reason I was getting fired is because the traffic that was coming onto his website, that wasn't converting into real customers. So it doesn't make sense to have somebody who cannot add value to the system. And that was an opening, that was an eye opener for me as to, you know what, companies today are spending so much money, so much time, energy, and resources into promoting and marketing their services, their products to drive traffic onto their site, but they are somehow not able to hit that, get that or hit that soft spot. So there needs to be a certain mindset to it. There needs to be a certain approach, and that's when I started reiterating, and that's when I started working with the different concepts and try to bring and join the pieces together. And since 2008, 2009, this process has kind of changed the way my approach has been towards clients. My approach has been towards businesses, and it has a silver lining to it since I've never got fired by a client again. And yeah, so I really thought that, you know what, a lot of these things could be implemented very easily, and that needs to be shared, and which is why this workshop is in place. So I've divided this entire framework into a 5-step flow, which starts with you and ends with the brand. So it's really crucial to understand as a first step, what is the goal of the website? What is it that the website really needs to achieve? Whether it wants to generate more leads, whether it wants to sell products, or whether it wants to provide accurate information, or it just wants to provide support to its users. What is it that the website really wants to do? Once you're clear about that, the next step is you need to learn a little about your audience. You need to know why is it that people are visiting your website. Are they visiting because they're not getting information from your retail stores or from forums or from their friends and families? what is it that's the driving their curiosities when they are on your site? Are they looking for product information? Are they looking for your service plans, or are they looking for any other kind of information that your business has to offer, or sometimes even the competition? The next step is you need to take that audience into perspective and visualize as to what are the steps that they would really take to firstly find your business, and then become a visitor to that business, and eventually become a lead for you, and eventually become your customer, to somebody who shares your business values with other people and get more and more customers like them, right? So you need to visualize what is the ideal path that people would take, and what are the steps that people would take to engage with your business. And while you're doing that, it's really important to ensure that your website is equipped with the right tracking equipment, with the right tracking codes. So whatever efforts that you would take as far as your marketing plans go, they should be tracked and measurable. They should be tracked effectively and should be measurable. So it's really worthless if you do not have data about the traffic that's coming to your site. There's no way that you could take actionable insights. And once you understand how people behave on your site, what are the most popular pages, what are the most popular content, for how long do people stay on your site, it becomes very easy for you to create an action plan and improvise on the existing structure or the existing flow of the site. Now, having said that, everything goes back to the goals of the brand, right? So you really want to keep the genesis of the brand alive online. So there's a certain way in which you want to communicate, there's a certain way in which you want to be projected, right? So all of that needs to be intact while you are visualizing your customer parts, or you are improvising your content, or when you are probably changing the layouts of your site, so on and so forth, right? So let me dive into the very first step, that would be understanding your website goals. So to do that, I'm going to ask one volunteer from the audience here, who would want to test their website, and who would want to test this framework on their site and see how that goes. So anybody who would be willing to share their domain with us, so we would be very happy to analyze that once. So you could leave it on the chat that's there on the right. Anybody who, okay, great. So we have the mangalgroup.com from Anki. Thank you so much, Anki. I'm going to share my screen again so we can see the site. Okay, so the domain is themangalgroup.com. All right. So while we're working on this, I also have a template which has been created and will be shared with you at the end of the presentation, which would actually help us and help you guys in carrying out the exact same steps that I'm doing right now. Right. So let's say I call the brand as the Mangal Group. So Anki, you can actually pitch in with your insights as well, because you know the brand much better than we. So we do. So we call the brand the Mangal Group. The website URL is the address that people are going to type to find your website on the internet. So that's the mangalgroup.com. So it goes right here. Okay, website goals. What is the goal of this website? Now, you would be able to identify the goal on the website based on the kind of buttons that are there on the site. Now, what we understand is Mangal Group is Gujarat's leading rubber footwear manufacturer. Now, this is a manufacturer website. All right. So, what could be the goal? What will be the first goal of this site? Is to get people to fill in the contact form. to get more and more people to fill in the contact form. So, Anki, am I on the same line as you are? If you would like to pitch in. All right. So I'll assume that I am on the same lines. All right. So the contact us is the primary goal of the sites, and that goes into the website goal. So the goal is to get contact inquiries, or let's just say get business inquiries. Right. So having said that, could that be the only goal on the site? We'll see. So what I'm doing is I'm scanning through the site and I'm looking at all the things that the user is able to do on the site. So here they can navigate through different products, and let's see what happens to the product then. Okay, there's a code to each product. Now each of these products are unique in the way they are built, and so they are priced differently, right? So I believe that they would all be targeted to uh, a user with a very specific budget or a price point in mind, which is why we have displayed the pricing here, right? So a user in this case is just getting basic information about the product, and that basic information is the color variant and the pricing. So there's nothing more to it as such. Maybe this is a conscious call that the brand has taken here, but from what I understand, just by looking at it, is this website was created for a B2B audience, right? So this website is not meant for selling the product. This website is focusing more on providing accurate information and getting more and more people to contact the company, right? So let's just fill the other parts of it. So the website goal is to get more business inquiries and to provide accurate information. All right. Now, when do these visits happen? Now, when do these visits happen is basically the moments in which people would want to get this information, right? So I'm assuming that the beneficiaries of this website would be traders and would be distributors of footwear products for men, women, and kids. And they would, since these guys are manufacturers, since Mangal Group is a manufacturer, they would be manufacturing based on very specific designs, right? So what are the moments in which people are going to visit this website, and why would they even get why would they even find a reason to engage with the site? So one of the reasons, I'm just assuming again, where one of the reasons why the visits would happen is to get, when the visitor needs accurate product information. Okay, another reason could be when they want to find a quote, and another reason could be when they want to research for Manufacturers. So when somebody is looking out for a particular product, that's when they would visit the website. When somebody has a product in mind and wants to know what is the code, that's when they would visit the website. And when somebody wants to find out how many manufacturers of footwear products are there in Gujarat, or maybe save it for their own reference at a later stage, they would want to visit the website. Now these are the when questions. The next is why. Why do you think people are going to visit the website? One is due to maybe curiosity. People are curious about a particular product and they want information then now. Let me just Google it and see what happens. Another reason why people would visit the website is to get a quick reference. When let's say somebody is looking for accurate information and they don't have the time, that's when they'll visit the website. So just to quickly refer to the products or the services and maybe send it to their vendors or WhatsApp it to them. So this covers the first step, understanding the website goals, right? So what goes into this is, as a next step, as a following step, is to understand the audience, right? Who are the buyers? Now, your products and your services, if you are in the B2B space, could have multiple buyers, could have multiple personalities, could have multiple personas. But when you are in the B2B space, you are limited to the number of people who are purchasing from you, and people who might be really inclined to purchase from you. So B2B decisions a lot of times happen based on the reputation of the manufacturer as well. So having said that, your website needs to show signals of reputation by probably showing, as a manufacturer, you want to show certificates, you want to show approvals in the manufacturing process, you want to show how other manufacturers have liked your or appreciated the way you are working, so on and so forth. So what is it that is important to your audience? That's really at the core of it. Now this is a sample framework for persona mapping. So in this case, let's say if you are looking at a B2B audience, you need to focus on one, who are they could either be if let's say we are looking at B2B segment, so they could be a retailer. So here we are not looking at multiple people, you're looking at one single person, right? So I'm going to move back to this framework here. So where do you see a lot of inquiries coming in? So let's say inquiries coming from a place like Maharashtra. And who would be my ideal buyer? I call them male with an annual income of, let's say, 50 lakhs per annum, because they would either be distributors. So these are high ticket users. Okay. What are their hobbies and interests? And what is it that, so they like reading about market fluctuations. They get like to get or they probably would be interested in joining associations, so on and so forth. So the list could just go on. What are the topics they are interested in? So they might be interested in, let's say, commodities. They would be interested in investments, right? Language of browsing could be Hindi, Gujarati, and Marathi, because this could be actually any. So, but again, in this case, if you have prior data, then you want to use that, and you can actually confidently say that I want to target Marathi speaking manufacturer from Maharashtra who is in the age group of, let's say, 35 to 40 years of age, things like that. So यहाँ पे we can add age as well. Between, let's say, 35 to 40. So now we have 35 to 40 male with an annual income of 50 lakhs per annum. And product related intent again is inquiry in this case, and it could be anything that you think would work. Product related challenge, what is the problem that he faces when it comes to this particular business? This particular problem is maybe he cannot rely on the quotes that other people are giving, so he needs more options. So there is no clarity on quotes and delivery terms. Let's just say this as one example. Product related pain point is, let's say, he cannot work with people whom he cannot trust. So that's a major pain point, especially in the B2B space. So I'm assuming that could be a pain point for this business as well. So lack of trust, industry related intent. So when it comes to the whole business as a whole, what is the kind of intent that this person carries? This person wants to work with the most reputed manufacturer. Industry related challenge. So probably this industry does not have a very straightforward list of manufacturers that is given to buyers. All right. So that could be one of the industry related challenge. So no very list of manufacturers. Now you could keep adding more. So this is again just for a sample. Industry related pain point. So this is a problem that is, a problem that everybody in the industry is facing. So let's say uh, irregular payment cycles. And what is the designation? So this person is maybe a proprietor. Behavioral parameters, tech affinity. How tech savvy is this person? So is this person uh, let's say really into websites and directories, and is this person a high tech? He understands operating systems, he understands the technology behind it, he understands a lot of other jargons that you would say. If no, then probably he is more of a regular smartphone user, right, with ordinary usage patterns. His social affinity. How likely is this person to share the content that he gets on his website, on the website that he sees? So in this case, the affinity is more towards his inner circle. So if he finds something interesting and relevant, he would probably definitely share it. So the affinity is pretty likely. So I would call it very high. Economic affinity. What are his spending habits? So he's a cautious spender. He's somebody who will spend only when he gets references, and he spends a lot of time in researching before he spends. These are some examples. And information. Is this person a knowledge seeker? Now, this would again depend on the kind of product that you are in and the kind of business you are in. So, looking at this one particular example, I would say yes. Okay. Now, now that we have one persona ready, it's easier for me to go ahead with mapping my customer journey. So as a third step, I want to visualize how will this one person find me. Now for that, I use a framework, a methodology called the inbound marketing methodology. Now I really like this one methodology because it stretches my thinking on various uh, on various platforms, and it kind of allows me to think about various possibilities. Now, the premise of inbound marketing is very simple. So, when strangers find you and they get attracted to what they see, they become your visitors. When visitors are engaged and they eventually find whatever is there on your website, they become your leads. When leads are easily closed, they become your customers. And when customers are delighted, they eventually become your promoters or brand advocates. So let me just explain this with the help of an example. I was reading a blog about how to dress up uh, smartly for men, and I happened to see uh, a few denim jacket designs. So I clicked on one of those designs to actually get more information, and I was eventually driven to the Mintra website. On the site, I had access to so many different other designs, and I happened to place a couple of designs on a couple of denim jackets on in my wish list. Right. So as soon as the I was about to leave, there was a pop up which said that we have a flash sale coming up soon. You probably want to subscribe to it, and which I eventually did. So after a couple of hours, I did get a flash mail notification. I ended up clicking on that link, and I checked out with all the products that were there on my cart. And once I received my order, I was given a chance to participate in one of their hashtag competitions. So if at all I hit a certain threshold of followers, and my post would hit a certain number of likes and comments, I would get another promo code which I could use for more purchases, which eventually did happen. So I did happen to click a few pictures and shared it with my friends. My friends liked it and commented on it, and I get an SMS saying that I get another 20% off on the new products. So again, I went back to my my products, and I completed the whole cycle again. Now, if you look at this example, I figured out or I learned about the denim jacket when I was reading an article. When I clicked on one of the links on those articles, I ended up coming onto the website and visited a catalog page. While I was at the catalog page, I got a notification to sign up for a flash sale. And after signing up, I did get an email to convert or an email to complete my transaction with a discount, which eventually I did. And once I became a customer, they gave me an offer, they gave me a competition to participate in, by which I would share their brand to become a promoter. So, this is a very simple yet a very effective framework which could be applied to everything. It could either be your an offer that you are promoting where people learn about the offer from various sources like your Google ads or banners on different websites or emails, whatever. This is the stage when they don't really know your brand, or if they know your brand, they don't know your offer. So after they engage, they learn about your offer, they want to know more, they come to your website. And once they are on the site and they read more about the offer, they want to redeem that offer. Once they redeem that offer, they become your customers, and once they become your customer, you give them more ways of sharing your content, of becoming a part of the success story. So a lot of brands today are working on very active referral programs, or they are working on very active I would say community driven programs where they're motivating people to share their brand. Amazon Prime is the biggest example of that. So everybody is using Amazon Prime, even though there are better deals available on Flipkart at times or on Myntra at times, but we still want to use Prime because it's simple, and we get a 1 day delivery and a lot of other things that Amazon is trying to do just to make us feel special. So we as Amazon Prime users end up feeling privileged, because of which we start using it, right? So this in totality is the inbound marketing methodology, right? So once you have identified what are the platforms that you want to be on, or based on the audience that you have, Once you identify what platforms, what are the steps that people are going to take, are they going to, so you start building a path. So first step is read the blog. Next step is they are going to land on a particular page, then they would get an email, and then they would turn into a customer, and then they would share it on their social media platform. Once you are able to create one, two, three, four, five steps, very specific steps that people are going to take when they come to their website, you can say that your website is now driving quality traffic. But that is not enough. That is in fact the beginning, and that's where step 4 comes in. Now, step four is to track and learn about everything about the traffic that's coming onto your site. Now, how do you do that? You want to ensure that there are tracking codes, especially from tools like Google Analytics, where you're driving traffic from. These codes are effectively placed on your site. You want to ensure that all kinds of traffic is being recorded onto your site. Once the traffic is recorded, it actually shows on a dashboard, a traffic dashboard like this. Now, you might ask, what do I need to measure? How do I know if I'm measuring the right things? So I've given you like a 5 indications of top level indications of what would tell you that your website is good quality or bad quality. So the first is the number of visitors. That's the core metrics. That's one of the first metrics. How many people actually came to your website? All right. Second is the number, the bounce rate. Bounce rate is basically that percentage of traffic that has come to your site but have left without taking any real action on the site. Now, bounce rate is calculated through multiple ways. There are various ways in which Google calculates bounce rates, but in general, bounce rates are considered to be those users who come to your website and leave without taking any action. Now, this is relevant to most businesses, right? The next metric you want to measure is click through rates, or CTRs. CTRs are the number of times people have seen your listing versus the number of times they have clicked on it. So it's basically a measure of how relevant did people find your listing when they actually found it, and that is a CTR. And finally, the conversion rate. A conversion rate is an overall metric which tells you how effective is your website to the traffic that is coming on to your site. So if there are 100 people who come to your website, and of that 100 people, let's say 10 people end up filling out a form which the Mangal group actually wants to say, then the conversion rate in this case is 10%, right? So you want to think about what is the overall conversion rate of my website. If my website conversion rate is 10%, and if let's say a salesperson working for me, he pitches 20 people a day and to eventually 200 people in 10 days, my conversion, and that person converts, let's say 10 people, then his conversion rate is 5%. So my website is performing better than a salesperson, right? So this is the kind of analogy that you would be capable of doing. uh, Having said that, you might get a lot of insights about how people are engaging with the content on your website, which means that bounce rates for certain pages would be very high. On certain pages, the bounce rates would be as in will won't be as high as well. So you want to identify the reasons behind why the bounce rate is high. A lot of times, when people move from a desktop device to a mobile device, the page isn't really equipped to render on a mobile device, because of which people leave without taking an action and never come back. So you want to make sure that your website is equipped for all kinds of devices and all kinds of users, especially the ones that are relevant to your business, right? So gets us to the next step, step 5, which is optimize and improvise. So let me give you an example of optimize and improvise. We were doing a campaign with ICICI Bank, which was launching a B2B offer for its distributors of policies. Now, that required ICICI to drive their policy distributors onto a landing page, register for this offer, and then eventually sell it out. So the problem with this process was the contact form had 3 fields: name, mobile number, and email ID. But the mobile number, we are habituated to just typing in, our 10-digit number without really having the the +91 sign or the international code sign. So we are not really used to adding that. But the default format of that contact form required the user to write +91 along with their mobile number. So people would try it a couple of times and they would never go past the next step, and eventually they would leave. So out of 100 people who would come onto that page, 90 would just leave, and the rest 10 would actually go ahead with the sign up. Now that wasted a lot of company resources, and when we actually looked at the data, we looked at the graphs, we realized that a lot of people are bouncing off because of a very small element, which is a +91. So if we actually go ahead and change the entire form, that would have an impact on the database. So instead of doing that, we just made +91 as a default value. And by doing that, our conversion rates for that page just skyrocketed. So from 10%, we moved to 85%. That's how impactful the campaign was. So you want to focus on uh, very obvious and very simple hacks that could help you improvise, and all of these hacks again have to come from the data. So you want to keep an eye on your core metrics and then think about what is the best way in driving that kind of performance. Now that brings me to a few essentials that you want to have on your website, which I also realized that guys, I'm really sorry if I'm missing the chats right now, but I promise you that I'm going to answer each one of them. So just when I finish presenting this. So all right. So there are a few website essentials, like you need an SSL certificate or you need a secure service license for multiple reasons. One is, of course, you are living in a highly connected world. Your data, your personal data, has been exposed to a lot of malware and spyware, right? So you want to ensure that when people come to your website, you give them a secure browsing experience, which also helps in ranking on Google search results. Second is you want to build an about us section, which is an absolute must. So what I noticed here is on this website itself. Now, if you see, it's a not secure website, right? Your connection to the site is not secure. It's because the website does not have an SSL certification, right? So you really want to fix that. And obviously, there are hundreds of other fixes that can improve this website performance by at least 1000%, in my opinion. So next is you want to have a very clear and a very easy to read and very well defined about us section, which is what people generally visit, especially the first time visitors. You want to have a contact us page, which is an absolute necessary, especially when you are fixing payment gateways. You want to get users to subscribe to your blog when you are providing service about your brand. So you definitely need a contact us page, without which, and unfortunately, a lot of people miss having a contact us page. Believe it or not, they don't have a contact us page on their site, especially the ones who are starting out for the very first time. And then you want to have a website privacy policy, which tells the search engines that your website does take precautionary measures when it comes to the privacy of the users and the data, and some standard terms of use. The templates are easily available for users to actually, for the users to um, read through and get a hang of how the brand handles their data. All right, so we'll come to the Q&A now, and let me answer one by one. So we have one question coming from Nikhil Panjwani, which says target audience of the website are resellers. Okay, so I believe you are referring to the Mangal Group website, Nikhil. So Anki, what do you think about it? Is resellers an ideal audience? Since Anki, this is your website, I believe you've just been following a framework. But if resellers are um, the goal, then the goal is to attract more business inquiries and more export inquiries and new technological development. Okay, what is an acceptable bounce rate? Which is again a very good question. So bounce rate differs from industry to industry. So if let's say you are a single page blog and there are hundreds of other blogs like that, um, one of the bounce rates that so generally bounce rate from 50 to 60% are considered to be normal. But if you are in an e-commerce space where there are more more products and there is more information, you cannot afford to have a 50% bounce rate, because that's half your productive traffic lost. So an acceptable bounce rate would be somewhere around 30 to 35%, somewhere between 30 to 35%. Any more questions, guys? Jay, okay. So, can we configure analytics with GitHub pages? Well, GitHub as a platform is very, is a very closed closed-handed platform, and it doesn't really allow a lot of integrations. But generally, people don't want to have GitHub pages for their products. They want to have a dedicated website, and they want to drive it to a domain which is like, if you see on the chats, that belongs to their business, like Mindray India or the Panache Club or the Piston, so on and so forth. Okay, so another question from Nikhil. Uh, what all features does Google prefer or want like privacy policy, compliance, live chat, etc.? So there's like a comprehensive list to it. There could be things like uh, your schema markups that define how your results will show on search results. Then there is things like mobile friendliness. Then you want to make sure that your website is secured, HTTPS certification and stuff like that. The list is quite endless. It's a very big list. Content quality. Then there is you don't want to have spam content on your site and stuff like that. Now, before I forget, we have a few giveaways for the people who've been attending this workshop, and we just as a thank you to all of you. So one is you'll get a copy of this presentation, so you can use it as a reference. You would get a step-by-step Excel sheet template that you just saw 10 minutes back, which would help you map out your own digital strategy. For business owners here, we are going to give away 15 minutes of consultation for your problems and for whatever if you have any doubts on about your brand. What you can do is you could either leave a message in the chat section, or you could get in touch with Shraddha or Sohail on the call right now, and they could give you a 15-minute time slot for that. For learners, if we are offering another 15-minute guidance session where we would be able to help you with how do you build your career on digital marketing opportunities, and how do you eventually leverage the current scenario and make a career out of it. If at all you want to start your own digital business, or if you want to, let's say, start making money on digital platforms, how do you go ahead and do that? So we'll be able to give you a 15-minute guidance session without really charging you for that, right? And that is pretty much from my end. I would love to hear your feedback, and obviously we'll continue on the questions for the next 10 minutes. So any more questions, and anything else that you would like to share? Okay, it's an informative session. Thank you so much. Means a lot. So thank you so much, Anurag, for your feedback. So how to improve social media marketing through the site? Social media is a very dynamic a very dynamic approach. So social media depends on two very important things. First is how do you influence your target audience, and second is how do you interact with them. So let's say if I'm selling a water purifier, and I have two very different audiences. One set of audience is let's say concerned mothers who wants to buy water purifiers from me, and another audience is general practitioners and doctors who want to recommend water purifiers to their patients. So in both the scenarios, my communication and my targeting on social media is going to be very different. So I'm going to actually think about each audience, create their own personas, and think about, okay, what groups do I want to be engaged with, what kind of uh, communication, or what kind of banners do I want to show them, what kind of posts am I going to show them? So if I have to interact with them, I cannot, let's say if I want to talk to doctors, I want to talk about the pH value, the setup cost, and the efficiency, and I want to talk about the entire gamut of the entire gamut of features that the RO purifier actually has. Um, Having said that, if I have to interact with, let's say, housewives, and if I have to interact with the end users who are mothers, concerned mothers, I could influence them by giving them easy setup, or I can give them a discount on purchase and stuff like that. That's what's going to influence them. So it entirely depends on who your audience is and what platform do you choose. The next question is from Rutuja, which says, "How can I get online business in bakery products business?" Okay, now social media is a good start. I mean, a lot of businesses today are driving new customers through social media. So I believe you can sign up for a 15-minute consultation, and we could talk about this at length. It will be a great conversation. So Shraddha would take your details and would fix you up with a session. Okay, Google Ads to drive traffic to website is the best option. Well, I'd say Google definitely is a platform which nobody can really ignore when it comes to driving traffic. But when you are on Google, you want to be very clear about what do you want your users to do, and you want to make sure that your targeting is bang on, because uh, in a lot of scenarios you would be paying for a single click that comes to your site, and you do not want to get you don't want to get ahead of yourself by trying different things unless you are absolutely sure. So you want to start small and grow big when it comes to Google Ads. Shashank asks me, what are the strategies for increasing customer penetration? Shashank, can you explain a little about what do you mean by customer penetration? Targeting the customer. Okay, okay. So right. So if you look at the framework that we've just shared, audience personas, now those audience persona details will really go a long way in helping you find the right targeting on your social platforms and also on Google Ads for that matter. So it's good to start with one audience and show them three different ads and drive them to one kind of a page instead of giving a lot of experimentations here, instead of having a very broad targeting and showing everything to everybody. So it's really important to kind of start with one audience and one offering and then grow big. Any suggestions on LinkedIn ads, as it's very expensive? Which I agree, LinkedIn as a platform is really expensive. For the ones who have managed to run campaigns there, you would realize that your cost per conversions are at least 2x or 3x higher than compared to other platforms. So again, on LinkedIn, I always prefer being very sure about the designations I want to target, the roles, user roles that I want to target before I run campaigns on them. So based on my initial interactions with my prospects and my customers, I see what kind of a prospect has a high possibility of converting on LinkedIn, and then I use the LinkedIn ad platform to actually target that kind of a customer. So guys, that was it. I would have to stop the session now and leave you guys with a freebie. So Sohail and Shraddha would send you guys links and would take the conversation ahead with you. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for actually attending this workshop. It really means a lot, and I hope to see you guys for the next workshop as well. So that's it, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much.